Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
You know how we all have that one friend that weirdly knows a ton about finances and is always down to help you with yours? Of course you don't. We're all lost and alone, and it's terrifying. Well, not anymore. Meet Experian, your BFF. And by that I mean big financial friend. I'm telling you, Experian is going to be your go-to app when it comes to handling finances like a grown-up. And this big financial friend always brings the DTF energy. Down to fix things, that is. The Experian app finds ways to help you save, matches you with credit cards, and even shows you your FICO score when you're up for it. Bet your other BFFs can't bring it like that, huh? Anyway, it's easy to take this big financial friend along for the ride. Just download the Experian app and get started for free. Link up with your BFF, and before you know it, you'll be finishing each other's finance goals. Results will vary. Credit offers, approvals, and reward programs based on FICO Score 8 model and subject to lender terms. Offers not available in all states. See Experian.com for details.
This is a HeadGum podcast.
You got mail.
Hi, I'm Millie Tamaris, and this is Go Touch Grass, the podcast where we log in so you can log off. Elise is off today, but we are two chronically online comedians, and on this pod, we break down the week in internet discourse, viral memes, TikTok trends, and niche influencer drama so that you can literally do anything else. Like I said earlier, Elise is out today. We wish her well. She's totally fine. She just had a work thing, but if you like what you hear today and want to hear more, we got a Go Touch Grass Patreon with tons more content weekly, access to our Discord community, and our spin-off series, Search History, where we go back and break down a viral discourse from the past. Our latest Patreon episode has Elise breaking down all the Broadway drama about Patti LuPone being weird to Black women. I don't know. It's above my pay grade, but Elise explains it. It's on our Patreon. You can hear it. And please don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review. We love your reviews. We need more of them. But really, the best review you can do is to tell your friends. Tag us in a story. We'll repost it. We're always online. We love you. Please, we love your feedback. And, of course, check out our YouTube. We have a Go Touch Grass YouTube now in 2025. And we have full video episodes that I edit. So please don't make me waste my time by not having people view our YouTube. It's awesome. I put in all the clips. You'll see the faces. You'll see Marcia's a very perfect monochromatic outfit. And again, so we have our audio episodes on Wednesdays, our video episodes on Saturdays. Go enjoy us there as well. And as I mentioned multiple times, speaking of people we enjoy, our guest today, our guest host, our guest co-host today is none other than comedian, musician, writer known for her hit 100 Tampons, but mostly her biggest credit is being my travel buddy. Give it up for our guest host, Marcia Belsky. Woo!
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. How does it feel to be back in the gauntlet?
I feel so honored. I can't believe I've been promoted to guest host. You're saying that Elise was out. I'm glad you clarified that she's okay because it did seem ominous. Like you're like, Elise is gone, but she's fine. And we wish her well with nothing because nothing's happening that's bad. But
she had a lot of work, so she had to,
right. I wish that I had been here for the Patty Audra discussion because
that was a Patreon exclusive.
I care so much about Broadway, and the Tonys were last night.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is the Tonys were last night? Do you have any strong opinions about anything that took place?
I have a lot of strong opinions. It's just about deciding. I was posting all over my close friends
I know.
last night.
I saw you were crying. There was a lot of emotion.
Audra's performance made me cry in the best way. I genuinely think that was, if not the best, one of the best performances in the history of Tonys of all time.
Wow.
Because the emotion, because I think even not knowing Gypsy, I think it was good. But when you know Gypsy, and that was my experience seeing the revival as well, I am shocked that the director wasn't nominated for Best Director because they lifted the material and added so much subtext without changing a single word. And Audra's performance as Rose, like in that song, it's the end of the show and Rose is having a mental breakdown. And she's a woman who wanted to be famous herself, wasn't able to, so she pushed her daughters into fame at all costs. And the way that Audra, I mean, I just, in theater too, I had never seen acting like that. So, you know, I love Audra. I will leave it at that in terms of who I think deserved to win. I almost called it Selling Sunset. I also saw Sunset Boulevard twice, actually. And I did really enjoy it, especially the first time. But I just thought Audra's performance was like unbelievable in Gypsy. And one of the last things Sondheim did before he died was give her his blessing to play that part. But, you know, I had never seen her in person before I saw that show. And it was just genuinely, I think, maybe the best acting I've ever seen live.
Wow. So you feel like Nicole shouldn't have. But, you know, I guess.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. But I guess like the argument, and I don't know shit about the tone. Well, I don't know. I mean, I know as much as someone who lives in Brooklyn and does art with people who are obsessed with everybody is obsessed with Tony. So I know like cursory.
See, it's interesting you would say that because how I feel is that at the Oscars, every time it's the Oscars, all my friends, let's have a party. Every time it's the Grammys, I go to my musician friends, let's have a party. I text everybody on the Tonys. Anyone want to watch the Tonys with me? Never really have had a Tonys watch.
You didn't text me, but I was busy. I was busy. I couldn't have done it. But I get that. Okay, so you're feeling oppressed. Interesting.
No.
So speaking of oppression, you have a new piece, a new play, a new musical, a new something that you're debuting at the end of the month that is about a woman who is losing her job in 2050.
2045.
2045. What inspired this? And was it the TED Talk conference that you made me go to in Vancouver?
Yes.
That was about AI that freaked me out.
Yes.
And you out.
Honestly, yes. Like I participated in this TED conference.
She was a TED speaker and not TEDx, you motherfuckers. TED conference, the official one.
Which TEDx is great. But I think it's like because I'm a woman, like I feel like I've told multiple people, because this was my second time I participated. And the first time I did it, I told multiple people, like, I did a TED Talk, and like men would be like, TEDx? And I'm like, no, TED. And then they'd always go, oh. And I'm like, but so it was really cool, but it was just crazy, like kind of being in Hamilton reference, the room where it happens. So to see, I kind of hated myself for that too, if you're annoyed by me.
No, it's okay. Well, I'm glad you said it because I'm not going to.
But it really
you're
was
in the room where it happens. Continue.
Yeah, this is why I didn't text you about the Tonys, by the way. But I mean, it was just crazy. And I think I have been spinning around a bunch of ideas around a musical, something around corporate deregulation, and also how we are having to emotionally regulate amongst this chaos. And increasingly so. And it's, I have a hard time emotionally regulating, especially at my job. I work in food service. So it's kind of about that. And I'm having a lot of fun. It's very cathartic for me.
Yeah. And like what caused the emotional deregulation is like a lot of the talk about the future of AI, which is something that we've talked about on this pod too, is like, they're already replacing copywriters. They're replacing entry-level software engineers. They're replacing a lot of entry-level jobs, in a lot of jobs, and they're not going to stop there. And I saw a meme earlier. It was like AI's taking all the jobs. And this one girl who works at like a spa, she was like, I would really love to see AI wax a coochie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're trying to build
AI coochie wax.
No, probably. They're trying to build robots that are like infused with AI that can do sort of tasks like that. I think for the sort of leisure lifestyle of America and how people don't want to even have a human interaction in it. But it's also like, it is the future and how we can see these things getting worse, but it's also kind of a play on what we already go through now. It's like, these things that are so out of our control, like getting stuck on a train, and these things that even like the pandemic, where it's like you're kind of going in your life, and suddenly something forces you to stop and be like, is everything I've done up to this point worth it? If I'm stuck in things that I can't control now. And it's like in the show, she's forced to go to her job during a tornado and, is kind of sitting there thinking, am I actually willing to die at this coffee shop job? Yeah. And the story kind of goes from there. It's a work in progress. I set a date at Union Hall because I realized I need hard deadlines. Yeah. I've been off and on work trying to execute like a musical like this for a while. And I just realized like, set a hard deadline for a reading. I was really inspired by my friend Fernanda Douglas is writing a musical about Twilight, a parody musical with a bunch of other people. Nice. And it's like, I went to their reading and it was just really inspiring to see just the process of writing a musical. And you really just have to start letting the drafts kind of be out there. Yeah.
That's work and that's art and that's incredible. And we love that. So check that out, guys, on June 30th at Union Hall. And wow, that's incredible. That's amazing. Now let's get to the show. We have a few software updates.
Dun, dun, dun.
So software update. I'm going to try to speed through this because, oh boy, do we have a big, huge amount of show to get through today. So software update. We covered DDG, the streamer, and Halle Bailey. I keep calling her Haley Berry, and that's not what it is. So DDG is a very online streamer who was loudly claiming back in March he used to date Haley, the star of Little Mermaid. And he back in March, he posted an 11-minute video about how his A-lister ex-girlfriend was withholding his son. He sicked his fans on her and to try to harass her. And he made a diss track titled "Don't Take My Son." And one of the
straight to the point. He was like, she's not letting me see my son just because my son's sick. The sickness they had was RSV, which is a really pretty serious respiratory infection. But also somewhat common amongst kids, isn't it?
It's common amongst kids, but a kid could easily get hospitalized.
It can get really bad. It's like pneumonia.
It can get really bad. It's like pneumonia. Yeah. So it's like, it's clear why, it's clear why she didn't want her fucking son to leave the house. Whatever. So
he was saying like, there's no reason you're keeping him from me, and she's like, he's sick,
and then he's like, well, I'll just hang out in the house, and she's like, no, like we're both sick, we're tired, like whatever. She doesn't say anything about it, right? So then then later in May, Bailey was granted temporary physical and legal custody of the former couple's son Halo after she alleged that the rapper/streamer, whose name is Daryl Dwayne Granberry, that's why it's DDG, abused her physically and emotionally. The temporary restraining order, which ordered the Twitch streamer to remain over 100 yards away from Bailey and Halo, and that he can't mention her and him on the stream, right? That's what the temporary restraining order until their June 4th court date. So we covered that, right? So, but that's when basically she comes out and she's like, yeah, he's been abusing me. He put his hands on me once. One time we got in a fight where he didn't want me to take the son, or he wanted to take the son. He ended up slamming her head against the steering wheel and chipping her tooth. He would take pictures in her house, like accusing her of sleeping with other guys after so he's just a fucking asshole. And then again, the day that she had RSV, that he got mad that he couldn't take the son, he took her cell phone and threw it into a canyon. So after those allegations were made, Halle was granted a temporary restraining order, and it looked like DDG was finally going to get consequences. A lot of brands started dropping him. He was invited to an event called Streamer University, and it was like hosted by Kai Cenat. And Streamer University it was like a streamer conference, like TED Talks, but for streamers. And
you have to make everything a reference to. You're like, how will Marcia
understand it? So it's like the Tonys for streamers. No, it's not the Tonys because there's no awards. But it was like they took over a college and had like a streamer university. So DDG was like lamenting, and it was like, okay, good. Like people are kind of pushing back. No, he fucking went. He got uninvited and then re-invited, and it looks like he kind of paid, or there was something with up and coming streamers and content creators. He like got a lot of the people at Streamer University to like be like, he's a great guy. He never harmed me, whatever, like those women, which is a whole other thing. So the software update is that he's requesting a domestic violence restraining order, alleging that Bailey poses an imminent emotional and psychological risk to the minor child based on repeated documented threats of self-harm. He claims that if Halo were to leave the country, because she did a petition for her to leave the country, I'll tell you why in a second, the toddler would be without the protections of the court and any emergency intervention mechanisms. So what happened was he started releasing the text messages between them. And we have them here. He released them to all these things. So the texts are of her being like, this is proof you're leaving me hanging as a mother. You won't step up when I need you to. I'm begging you. Like while so basically what he did was he released these text messages of them in a fight, and and some of it is her like saying that she's going to harm herself and all this stuff. And he wanted to basically be like, well, like, look, she's so fucking crazy. And here are the texts, he's sleeping with another girl in Mexico while she's like home alone with their kid or something. So of course his male incel fans are saying that she's crazy and abusive. But to the part of the internet's credit, the big part of the internet can see clearly she's a 23-year-old woman with postpartum depression, an infant child who wants help with her baby. And this guy's in fucking Mexico with another girl streaming about sleeping with her. Like she's kind of dealing, and she's saying, and I started another conversation about like problematic behavior versus abusive behavior, right? Like, saying that like, if you don't text me back or if you don't whatever, I'm going to harm myself. Like that's not great, but it's in the context of all the stuff that's happening. It's kind of like,
he's also releasing this to the public and doesn't seem to be really thinking about how it's going to affect his child while claiming like that this is all for the child,
Yeah. And again, he can't talk about it anymore. So a lot of people are speculating that him releasing the text are a way for like people to.
Yeah, he's going to talk through other people. He's going to get like, other people to say what he wants to say.
Yeah. And then in the past week, I think either at Streamer University or something else, him and his brother got in a fist fight because somebody called him, because his name is DDG, like that's his streamer name. Somebody did call him doo-doo garbage. And I think
this is why I love humanity, because it's like you can work so hard, and if you let your ego be in control, ultimately someone can undermine everything you've built reputation-wise by just calling you a poopy head.
And I think that term was coined by Soulja Boy.
Doo-doo garbage.
Doo-doo garbage. So there's a video of some guy saying, shut up, doo-doo garbage. And then they start physically fighting each other. And it's really funny. I highly recommend. So then Bailey goes back and she's like, I'm fine. Like, I've been public about my mental health struggles. I'm on medication. That was a really dark time for me. This is embarrassing that he's releasing this. And then this is what she wrote through her lawyers. But she said, had DDG been really been concerned about my parenting, he would have taken action prior to this time. This is called retribution to embarrass, humiliate, and cause me additional emotional distress. The judge is leaving Halo in Bailey's sole custody until the hearing that's scheduled for June 24th. And the judge also denied DDG's request to stop Bailey from bringing Halo with her to Italy. And then the software update also with that is that rapper Flo Milli, she was recording a song with somebody else. She's like in the studio. She recorded a song about shitty exes and baby daddies. And in the line, it said, this one's for Hallie. So it's like in the lexicon that she has a shitty baby daddy, all this stuff.
I mean, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
It's really sad. Anything else?
I mean, it's hard to know what to say because I didn't know that much about it before I had heard that she had a shitty situation with her baby's father. I hope she's okay. I think it sucks when you're a person and then this happens so publicly.
Yeah.
And then you can retaliate through the press and even just, I mean, this is why like I'm so wary of marriage in general because the idea, it's like I've had really bad breakups in my life and it's like, and I've had chill ones, but it's like also like the idea of having to go through a bad breakup and then have to get a judge involved and like having a child It's just sad.
It's messy and sad. So DDG then claims, like, amongst all of this drama, he's like, I had my best streaming numbers in the month. So he says May was my best month ever on Twitch. And he alleges that he made $12 million in profit from Twitch. But immediately under this picture, people started asking Grok if this was true. Grok is
the
AI on X. So, Marcia, read what Grok said about DDG's streaming numbers.
DDG's claim of earning $12 million on Twitch in May 2025 is unverified. His 40,410 subscribers could generate 100 to 200K from subs far below 12 million. Okay, I will say, though, but AI, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
AI also told me that the cat tree that I bought could hold 1,600 pounds, like on the AI summary or whatever. Yeah. And then they're using this stuff for research, even though it's kind of not there yet. Because even if I mean, I would honestly believe him making a ton of money because that's so classic of our culture right now. Like, they love an anti-hero. People just kind of love drama and don't feel that they have to ethically invest one way or another, and they can just participate and their hands are clean, even though it's like getting people a bunch of money.
So you're saying that you think DDG did make $12 million?
I mean, he's probably exaggerating. Like, he could probably doctor that screenshot, but I'm saying that I don't believe that the anti-proof of that is Grok.
Yeah, well, they're saying that it's not likely based on like, even with ads, bits, donations, that it's not
He couldn't
likely.
even do that no matter what.
It's not likely, yeah. But you're right. AI is terrible. So.
I liked when Grok called Elon a Nazi. I thought that was fun. Whenever, like, because it's his AI.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, white genocide is not real in South Africa. And Elon's like, what the fuck?
Well, we'll get to that later. So that is it for our DDG thing. And another software update, we covered Cardi B and Offset's very public divorce. Offset, again, just to catch you up to that, Offset, Cardi B, rappers. Offset was more popular than Cardi B. Cardi B started getting more popular. He started publicly cheating on her with literally everybody, and would constantly post him. Then when Cardi B, after, like, while they're dealing with the divorce, every time Cardi B would look good, Offset would put like a hater-ass comment. He'd be like, you have 3 kids. No one will ever love you, whatever.
I think he thought, because whenever she was in the, like, staying with him and he was, like, buying her cars and they were always making up, I think he thought that that was going to work forever, because I think he thought that she was kind of in the, I don't hope I don't get in trouble for this, but almost like the Beyonce mentality of like, well, I'm not going to start over with a new man. I'm going to try and make this one work.
That's called the sunk cost fallacy. That's like a really common thing.
Yeah. It's like, but Jay at least publicly did pivot his behavior and like, you know, was very ashamed of it and allowed her to have her moment.
And kind
Offset
of
never
like
did that.
publicly like lashed himself with Lemonade. Like, and him being in the thing, like, he kind of publicly took it.
And cares about their kids, obviously, and things like that. And it's like, I think, I mean, not to be a Jay-Z apologist, whatever, but I think that Offset didn't do any of that and lived to publicly humiliate her. And then her whole first album was already about his cheating and how, and I do think it's like when you're, you know, now I'm 35, and when I look back and see women who are in their 20s but sort of older for their age making albums like this, it's so clear that I'm like, when she's in her 30s, she's going to look back and be like, I can't believe that I let this loser take up so much of my time and heart.
Energy.
And she also seemed to be a pretty good wife to him. He went through a lot of loss. I think she really was like his partner through that, at least publicly. I mean, we don't ever know what's happening privately. Yeah. But
she said that, and that's why it really hurt. Like, she had a really strong connection. She encouraged him to like reconnect with his other children. Like, he didn't have a really good connection.
He's jealous. They're not as special as their. I don't find him as special as her. I think a lot of people feel that way. I think that's a lot of the jealousy towards women is like they're resentful, especially women who have sexual appeal. They kind of get resentful if they get both, because men are like, you know, they want to be special, which is understandable, but rather than sort of like working to get there the way that we know that we have to, I feel like they just like are attracted to really special women, but then resent them for getting us 2 types of attention. One, they feel they don't have access to, which is like physical.
Yeah.
And I think they just can't handle that in their minds, being jealous of a woman, being like, she's talented and sexy. I can't allow it. Like,
yeah, and like no one's stopping Offset from being like
a male sex object.
A male sex object, working
for the
out all the
world.
time and all this stuff. But instead of that, again, he would just publicly embarrass her. And like that would be kind of his way to humble her and like kind of always interrupt. And that's also like something that we see in DDG too, is like when she's about to have a big thing, he tries to like disrupt and interrupt it.
Mhm.
And that's what we see here. So basically, what we've been following that for like the past year. Then now Cardi B is seen very publicly with her new NFL boyfriend, Stephon Diggs.
Good for her.
So last week, Offset made a statement to the Breakfast Club, basically saying that he is going to request spousal support, even because Cardi B is so busy that she barely sees her kids. Like, kind of implying that she's a deadbeat mom.
Well, that's also a classic, like, shame. Like, when a man's busy who has kids, that's just, like, normal. But when a woman's busy and has kids, she's neglecting her kids. And, like, how dare she have a career? And she leaves her kids at home. And it's like, she probably leaves her kids at home about the same amount as other rich people, which is probably a decent amount. And it's like, but he knows that he can play off the gender bias that she's supposed to be at home 100% of the time.
Well, let's see how she responded to that.
I loved her response. Made me laugh so much because that's why I like her. It's like, she does not hold back. She's like, I wish you death.
Well, let's hear what she had to say.
Listen up. Y'all listening? Listen up. The fact that I'm waking up right now, right? And the fact that I'm waking up right now to see that this fuck nigga and his fuck ass team, I know it's not his team. I know it's his bitch ass. Gonna tell the Breakfast Club the only reason why this motherfucker asking for spousal support, because I was asking for everything. And because I don't be with my kids. Yo, you such a fucking pussy ass nigga. Word to my mother. I want you to die, but I want you to die fucking slow, nigga. When you die, nigga, I want you to die slow in the bed. And while you die, nigga, you gotta think of me. When I first filed for fucking child support, my lawyer filed for child support. I mean, when I first filed for divorce, my lawyer filed for shit. And this nigga started spazzing, right? So I told my lawyer, there's a renew, what's that shit called? There's a renew divorce paper, right? And in the renewed divorce paper, I asked for no child support. I didn't ask for no child support because I want to be done with this marriage. Like, I feel like I'm tied up. I asked for no child support. Kiari is allowed to see my kids. There is not one day that he's not allowed to see my kids. Okay? He stood up my kids 3 times. He have seen Blossom only like 5 times. Okay?
So basically, yeah, she went on Twitter Spaces and she talked for a long time, said that, and also said, like, basically broke down, like, how much money she spends on all her kids. Like, she has a driver, she has nannies, she has a nutritionist, she has all this stuff, and she's footing the bill and he's not helping with anything. Any reaction to I mean, you said you loved it, right? So
I mean, it's it's funny, but then as she goes on, it's obvious she's like in a lot of pain as well. Like, but I like it, I think, because I feel like I can relate to that emotion, but I always suppress it really hard and never want to like crash out publicly. And I feel like what's nice about Cardi is that she kind of like owns her crash outs and it's just kind of like, I'm allowed to feel this way, and just navigates her emotions like sort of publicly. And I think that's what makes her likable, like as opposed to other celebrities. Like, she doesn't come across fake. She says how she feels. And if she's wrong, then she goes, okay, I was wrong, whatever, moving on. You know?
And I guess it's like the opposite of Beyonce, where Beyonce was going through something like with Jay-Z, like, and cheating and stuff. And instead of like crashing out publicly, well, her sister beat his ass, but also, and they tried to keep that down.
But allegedly that was over business rather than
I heard
cheating.
that it's cheating.
I like that more.
He grabbed somebody's ass in front of her. That's the story I've heard. And we'll get to that in another thing. But, and her sister beat his ass. in the elevator at the Met Gala. But this, she's very publicly going through it. So she does this Twitter space, and then she posts a 19-post carousel of her looking hot and with her new man. So these are 2 pictures from the carousel. One is
Ooh,
so.
nice
Why don't you
tattoo.
tell us what you see here, Marcia?
On the right, Cardi B's on a boat with her. That's her new man.
That's her new man,
And
Stephon Diggs,
she's
NFL
got a
player.
really nice tattoo on her leg. She's looking good. Her hair looks great. And then on the left, it's just shitload of roses.
That he
So
got
obviously
her.
someone's spoiling her. Yeah.
So after that, after she posts this, and then Stephon posted a picture of them 2 together too. And in the carousel, there's a nice video of her grinding on his dick, and he's like, dancing. So like, she's like, we're very publicly in love and whatever with her new man.
Yeah.
And
That's why they want to get rid of divorce laws. It's like I think in like Offset's mind, he's like, I should be able to do whatever I want, and she should have to like remain lonely forever.
Yeah.
Like, that's how they feel.
That's how they feel, and that's not the reality of the word.
And then they're shocked genuinely when like women have options, especially a woman like Cardi B has
It's
a ton
insane.
of options, but she was choosing to be with you in part because of how women are taught to sacrifice
Yeah.
ourselves. And when that runs up, especially when we have our own money and power, I genuinely think they don't know how to navigate that world because it's not the world they were taught would be. It's not the world they were raised in. It's not the world their fathers told them they should expect.
Yeah. That's really like, that really is kind of like what we're currently dealing with in society now, is kind of the backlash to like all these men and people who were told that they were going to have all the power. They still have power, but they don't have like the cultural cachet and the whatever.
But they still have so much. I mean, you see it in comedy all the time where you see these guys who truly get everything they want
yeah.
and they still cannot stop whining just because they had to do like one show with a woman they didn't find funny.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is crazy because
all
my
women
boy
suck.
Brad couldn't get a spot.
Yeah.
Like, that's all.
And I'm like, you don't even know what it is to be slighted. Like,
No.
from companies and things and shows that like me, that think I'm good and funny, the disrespect you have to eat and swallow
Mm-hmm.
just living. And then you have this guy who's like, men can't make it a company. You're like, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
So back to Cardi B and Offset. In other conversations, Cardi B was like, look, like I had to let him go because it was ruining my career. Every time I would get into a public beef with another woman rapper, it was never about my skill. It was never about that was always my weak point. And I had to eliminate that.
Was Offset?
Was Offset because every kind of feud or something, they'd be like,
that's
oh, at least
what's
my
so
man
sad.
doesn't cheat on me.
A woman
And then-
just ends up being embarrassed by the man that she's like sacrificing for. And it's like, for
Hillary
what?
Clinton.
He's not even nice. On the grandest scale,
Hillary
she's
Clinton.
the biggest example of that, I think. Yeah.
So just to round the Offset thing out, Offset saw that Stephon Diggs had similar braids to his son and tweeted basically kind of saying like he was hurt to see that, and kind of said like, now if I kill somebody or if somebody dies over how you're treating my son, then I'm the problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you kill someone pretty much no matter what, unless it's self-defense, you are the problem. Yeah.
Well, what's funny is that he saw a picture with Stephon Diggs with this braid pattern, and then there's a picture of his son with the same braid. It is a very distinctive braid pattern, like very intricate braids that only like a professional, that only a braider that rich people could do it, right? But the problem was that the picture of his son was months old. Like, so he thought that Stephon got a copycat, like father, stepdad, or stepdad.
And it shows that he doesn't know what his
And he
son's hair
doesn't-
looked like for months.
So he got clowned so bad, he deleted all his social media.
And
now
that's
he has no social
the
media.
truth always gets around. I do think the best thing to do is like, she absolutely deserved to crash out, and then she should sit back and let him get himself, because it's like they always end up talking too much, revealing the truth.
Yeah.
I think the kids ultimately know which parent is there for them in the long run. And it's also like, it really is just pathetic because you have it speaks to the emotional immaturity, which is sad too, because when people have kids young, the ideal situation is for you to be happy that the stepfather has a connection with your son.
Of course.
And for there to be like a co-parenting existence where you can say, me and the mom weren't compatible.
Yeah.
You know, we've both moved on, and I want the man who's with my son a lot
To
of the
love
time
him.
to love him and to have a connection with him. And I'm secure enough in my parenting and my connection with my son, but it's when they're insecure.
Yeah.
It's because it's like, you know, I don't know how my son is going to feel about me long term, and I'm scared another man will be there to offer him
replace.
stability.
I mean, that's literally what happened with Future and Russell Wilson.
I always think about that situation where it's like now all he has is trying to like turn the public against them, but it just makes him look like a bitter loser.
Yeah.
Like, because again, he thought that she would never find someone better because in men's minds, better is successful and more masculine. But in women's minds, better is you care about me, you take care of me,
Yeah.
you prioritize my kids. And I think that's also where someone who is really committed to toxic masculinity genuinely can't understand that. So they just crash out because that's what he's so unfathomable. He's like, why would she choose him? Because he treats her well and he's attractive.
He's also, and a big ego thing is that he's also is quote unquote better. He's taller, more rich. And somebody was, even on a male podcast, somebody was like, he's an athlete. Like, he's dicking her down in ways that a rapper could never.
Mhm.
Like a rapper who parties all the time. Like, even just Banford, like side by side, a musician versus an actor, musician versus an athlete, you can't compare stamina,
No.
this, that, whatever. Like,
That's why I've never understood the groupie thing, because it's like these, like, they're not good lays. Like, and then it's also, I think it's that like women are still taught that your access to power is going to be through proximity rather than finding it for yourself. But it's like that proximity is always going to leave you neglected. And I think that's why you don't see a lot of groupies past their 30s, because you get to a certain point where you're like, oh, I can be next to power my whole life, but if this person doesn't even register me as a human, what's the point?
yeah. And I will say it is like, I think the groupie thing is like, it is hot to see somebody in defense of groupies when you see
It's hot, but
somebody
the idea is they like me back. It's hot to me, someone who has talent, but only if they like
you
me
back.
back.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. Some people don't need
People
that.
don't like themselves, yeah.
So speaking of people who don't like themselves,
Good segue.
let's go to our main discourse today.
Okay.
So the name on everyone's lips
Is gonna be
Elon versus
Elon.
Trump.
Uh,
Trump and Musk. So let's talk about the messy girl breakup. So
messy boy breakup, because this is, I know that it's like, I did have fun too being like the girls are fighting, but it is also like, this is such an egotistical male fight. They act like we're catty ones. And it's like, honestly, this is how I've seen a lot of male friends eventually behave towards each other, because they were never actually that close. Whereas like, I feel, you know what I mean? It's all business relations and sort of surface level that, of course, their egos are going to turn on each other. The whole connection is based in ego.
yeah, so I'll preface this. There was kind of, before we get into like the kind of discussion or whatever about it, a lot of our fans were emailing us and like, you guys predicted it. A lot of people predicted it.
100%.
This one creator that I like, her name, she goes by K Not Bay. 6 months ago, she was like, when Elon and Trump fall out, it's going to be, and I love this term, period draws beef.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's going to get so nasty. She's like, it's going to be, the levels of nastiness is going to be like when a girl group falls out and one of the girls posts the period underwear of the other online.
Oh
it gets
my God,
so
that's
messy.
so funny.
And she's like, it's going to be like that. It's
somebody
going to be
said the funniest TikTok I saw, and I'm sorry I don't remember the creator's name, but somebody said, why are they fighting like girls who went on a Miami trip and fell out? And I'm like, that's exactly the vibe.
And it's not that kind of level of fighting is only to women, but it's like
that there's no bottom to where you will
to
go
where
with
it goes.
When you feel that level betrayed, where it's like that's how when you see two people, it's like middle school fighting, because I think that a lot of them are these kind of unregulated 12-year-old boys that like are obsessed with their power and their toys and have never really had to grow past that level of emotional maturity.
Well,
but it is also like
babies, yeah.
Exactly. And it is also though like I remember like when you're a middle school girl and you have like the people around you haven't really developed empathy yet.
Mhm.
Those are some of the most brutal and formative
It's
times
terrible,
in terms
yeah.
of how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
Everything you then repress for the next 20 years of
No,
your
for the rest
life
of
is
your
because
life.
of how those girls judged you.
Literally, that's like kind of one of the stories of the couples on couples therapy. The latest season was that like both this husband and wife have like a marriage where they're not communicating, they're completely repressed, and then 4 episodes in, you find out that they were both terribly bullied
In middle school.
well, the guy was bullied in college because his friends saw porn with a gay guy and like fat women, and his friends like bullied him so bad he like, but I'm also like, who cares? Like, I'm like, whatever. But then the girl, she went to a summer camp and they like hazed her so bad. But like
at
these
the
people are in
time-
their 40s and they have a kid and they're
I know,
still,
but
like,
it's because you like survive
It's
it, but
formative.
you mentally just avoid it and
Yeah,
don't
and
realize how
don't-
much
yeah.
it's forming everything around you. Because especially in those moments when I remember socially how it really felt like life or death. Like if you had the whole school against you, it would feel like as a person, you don't even deserve to
be alive.
exist.
Yeah.
And then people live through that, hopefully, thank God.
Yeah.
But then they get to adults. It's kind of the same way where like a celebrity will say, mentally, I was still stuck in the place of being poor and unsuccessful because they never transitioned the identity gap between what they were chasing and like who they've become.
So now that we've psychoanalyzed the
I
situation,
love to psychoanalyze.
let's talk about the context. So for context, on May 29th, I think, May 30th or May 29th, there was a New York Times article and a really good episode of The Daily that chronicled Elon Musk's drug habit and said that it was so bad it was affecting his bladder, which is a well-known effect. Like that's a well-known side effect of using ketamine often.
Is that the news, like HR reporter way of saying he pisses his pants regularly?
Maybe.
They're like, it's caused bladder issues. It's
Yeah.
like-
Well, and one of the reporters was one of the women that broke Me Too, that did like the whole, so there's some really legit capital.
Well, Ronan Farrow was looking into him and stuff. Yeah.
So this is a quote from the article that said, quote, he took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms and he traveled daily with a medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall. According to the box of the photo of the box, and people have seen it. So they like super verified this. People speculate that his drug use coincided with his obtaining of power. So basically he started fucking with Trump, started getting like more into drugs hardcore in a way that worried everyone around him. And
this is where I kind of say, this is where I'm so tired of like all of the doublespeak of the world, because if you look at him for 5 seconds during that like inauguration where his eyes are going all crazy, like, I'm sorry, maybe because I was a druggie as a kid, maybe because I've always known people who are on recreational drugs, instantly you're like, that man is high. And then he does the Nazi salute and you have everybody on the news being like, is he high? Did he do the Nazi salute? Yes. Like, and then it becomes all this discourse about something that to me is like, you can see it with your
Roman
own eyes.
salute versus Nazi salute. So
Okay.
that was, I mean, that's what the discourse is.
It's not even brave enough to just be a Nazi. Like,
well, but what the people closest to him who talked to New York Times based on anonymity were saying was that his behavior became more erratic, like the Nazi salute, because of his high drug uses, and he was getting more sloppy with all the baby mamas and all the overlapping. Like that's been happening for years, starting with the Grimes thing, and he's getting more and more loose and lying and getting caught and stuff. So it's kind of, ratcheting it up.
It makes so much sense, because it's like you would think someone like him would think that a drug or an addiction could never get the best of him because he's the ultimate man and he's the one in control. But it's like you are still a human meat sack.
Yeah.
And you are still prone to chemical addictions just like the rest of us.
So this is some quotes from the article. So it says, Mr. Musk has described some of his mental issues in interviews and on social media, saying in one post that he has felt, quote, great highs, terrible lows, and unrelenting stress. Who hasn't, right? But anyway.
Yeah.
Then he says he denounced traditional therapy and antidepressants. He plays video games for hours on end. He struggles with binge eating, according to people familiar with his habits, and takes weight loss medication. That's fucked up.
Ozempic,
yeah. And he posts daily and night on his social media platform X. So again, he was getting sloppy. The behavior was getting erratic. Then he had a goodbye to like the government office Doge press conference that he had like with Trump, where he was in the background. He showed up with a black eye on that conference.
I didn't even see that.
Oh, he had a black eye and he was kind of drugged out in the press conference. So then there was this whole online discussion on who punched Musk in the face. This is all before we get to the fallout.
It's Putin. He flew in.
No, there's 3 theories, right? Theory 1 is that people speculate. Well, first of all, theory 1, Elon says that he was playing with his son X and that X accidentally
His son's name is also X?
Yes. Yes, the like...
Oh, the XFAR 5321
yeah,
I7.
that one.
Grimes,
he calls
baby.
him X. He calls him X.
Well, that's
So
good at least.
he says that he was roughhousing and that X accidentally punched him in his eye and he got a black eye. That's one theory. No one believes that.
Lock him up.
Theory 2. Jesus Christ. Theory 2. We have to get through this. Theory 2 is that Stephen Miller punched him in the eye because Stephen Miller. There's a rumor that Elon was fucking Stephen Miller's wife, Kate Miller, who does have YOLO tattooed on her bottom lip. That's a whole other story. So when Elon Musk announced that he was
Mary fuck kill Stephen Miller, Elon, the gun would go off. I choose the gun. I can't even imagine.
So his wife, when Elon announced that he was going to leave the White House, Stephen Miller's wife also quit and said that she was going to go with Elon to Austin to work for him. So apparently the people online have been speculating that because Stephen Miller is left-handed and the eye which the punch would land corresponds with which eye it would be with the left hand. So people think it was on some Jerry Maguire shit.
If you
that Elon was like, who's coming with me? And Stephen Miller's wife was like, me. So then Stephen Miller supposedly punched Elon Musk in the face. What say you?
I mean, first of all, I'm just like imagining freaking noodle arms Stephen Miller throwing a punch and it landing on any. But also, I can see him being like such a weak ass little bitch boy that he like takes boxing lessons because he has like these fantasies of like, I'm going to be on the front lines of the, anti-revolution and like blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
January 6th bullshit.
Yeah.
And then, but it's like, to me, he gives like, I feel like I could take Stephen Miller by like, blowing a leaf at him. He doesn't give me strong. Somehow, I mean, Elon doesn't either, but I would think that he's kind of more solid than Steven. So it's like just kind of funny to imagine him landing a punch on him.
Okay, well, that's funny because the third theory, and this is kind of the theory that I feel, and this was a theory that was reported by multiple publications, including the Daily Beast, who I respect, journalistically, that Steve Bannon told the Daily Mail that Musk, Steve Bannon's messy, and Steve Bannon hates Musk.
Because he took his spot.
He took his spot and that's a whole other thing.
And took credit
Musk
for...
got physical with Scott Bessent, who's the Treasury advisor for Trump, after being confronted over Doge's meager savings. Scott Bessent called him out and said, okay, so basically what happened was they started disagreeing at a meeting. Musk then, quoted, thrust his shoulder into Bessett's rib cage, quote, like a rugby player. That's what Stephen Bannon said. The Washington Post reported based on an interview with Trump ally Stephen Bannon. Bessent started to hit Musk back, and the fight had to be broken up by several bystanders. The world's richest man was shuffled out of the West Wing, according to the Post. The altercation came after an Oval Office meeting where Musk and Bessent made competing pitches to the president about who should lead the IRS. Trump opted for Bessent's as choice. As the men walked away from the Oval, they began to spar verbally.
I heard about this possibility. Yeah.
Bessent basically called Musk a total fraud for failing to meet his goal of cutting $1 trillion in federal spending. But then things got physical when Trump. Basically said, you promised us that you were going to do this many cuts. You were going to do $1 trillion. You only got to $100 billion, and no one can find anything. What are you doing? And then Elon Musk.
This is where I start to wonder if it is planted political theater, though, because they never thought he was going to make cuts. I mean, they knew that he was going to be funneling money into his own things. They knew that he was going to be cutting agencies that were investigating him and Trump's industries. I think they knew what he was going to do. It just didn't play well with some of their base when he went after veteran places and things like that.
I'm going to counter and say that he did think what happens with Silicon Valley and all these guys is that they overhire and because they're starting up, they're making the company structure as they go. And that's why layoffs and turnover are really high, because they constantly are making the companies more efficient, because they're like restructuring and all that stuff. The thing is that doesn't apply to government. Government, like, to get anything government funded or anything, like, there's going to be a little bit of waste. Like, there's nothing without waste. But they're thinking that it's going to be just like Silicon Valley, but it's going to be worse because private companies are run better.
Yeah.
And the reality was it's not. Like,
well, and it's so terrible. Even like USAID was a Republican initiative, I think, at first. Even I'm pretty sure it was started under Bush, the like protections on. It's just crazy to look at, because that is exactly right. They think that they can treat it like startup culture, and that's what the whole push is with Trump being a businessman and stuff. But it's a completely different thing where you can gut a startup and start a new startup. You can't start a new American government.
Well,
I mean, they want to, but I don't think it's going to work. They don't realize how long these foundations took to build.
Well, let's say if a startup like Uber or something goes down or doesn't work as efficiently as
something
it did
can
before,
take its place.
Like, but it's fine. Like, people can take the bus, people can use Lyft, whatever. If fucking Medicaid doesn't work or Social Security, like, that will disrupt.
Or the National Weather Service.
Or the National Weather Service.
My dad used to work at NOAA, and he was telling me how, like, NOAA is the National Weather Organization that's in charge of disseminating all the scientific research into local weather meteorologist reports. And they were gutted by Musk, along with the Park Service and all these like important environmental things. And allegedly, because they're so short-staffed, they don't have anybody working in NOAA from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. They've like cut that shift. And then you have these tornadoes that happen, and that's why sirens aren't going off. People aren't getting proper warning. I mean, we're going backwards in terms of so much that we've worked so hard as humans to save lives, you know?
So basically what launched the Civil War, just to go back to what you're saying, the whole point of Musk trying to cut funding is because the Trump administration, which every administration, when they start a thing, they have one like big legislative bill that is supposed to define their presidency. With Biden, it was the Inflation Reduction Act. But with Trump, he calls it his big, beautiful bill.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is they're trying to cut a bunch of shit so they can increase tax cuts for rich people. So then on June 1st, Musk soft launched the Civil War by claiming that he was disappointed by Trump's big, beautiful bill, alleging that it undermines, basically, which is kind of true, it undermines all the work he's doing by Doge. He worked really hard to even get that $100 billion cut, because it's adding an estimated $2.4 trillion to the federal deficit, which is what the Republicans claim that they don't want, even though like they really don't care.
I think Musk knows. I think that his little coup didn't play out well. It especially is hurting the reputation of Tesla and the reputation of any sort of business that he wants to go into from here on out, unless he wants this sort of cornered conservative niche market, which I don't think will fund his electric cars. And I think the Republicans had already been blocking him out. And so I think that once he actually realized, I am fully on the out and they might not let me get back into the position I felt I was promised by paying for them to win this election, I think that's when he flipped and was like, it's this bill I'm against because I'm really actually for what I purported to be. And I'm the one who's always kept my integrity, when it's all bullshit.
Well,
I think the feud is real, but I think that there's the reasons behind and him purporting to suddenly have this morality, obviously.
No. And some people speculate that because of this New York Times article, like it was people in Trump's camp that basically snitched on Elon about his drug use to the New York Times. And now Elon's not working in the White House anymore. And like you said, so he's like salty.
Why would Elon even care? What's crazy to me is like what they care about reputation wise versus what they don't. It's like he'll like be like, yeah, I'm a Nazi and proud of it. Just kidding. I would never do that. Yeah, drugs, what have you. I'm not on drugs. And it's like, I wonder if it's that there are still some like theological Christians with the Project 2025 they're working with where he really can't be on drugs and like he's like he can't have them think that. But why does he even care if people think he's on drugs is what I don't get.
I think the drug thing is because he's in charge of federal contracts. That's where he gets a lot of his money, defense spending.
Right.
So
he's in charge of whether people in Ukraine can like receive comms because of
so
Starlink.
when you work with anything federal government defense wise, you have to take periodic drug tests. Elon's not taking them. So that's one reason. And another reason is like people don't want him to run Tesla anymore. Like all this shit that he runs, if he has like a drug problem, like,
if they can prove it, it's like an excuse they can use to legally kind of get him out of there.
So that whatever. So yes. Okay. So the big beautiful bill would historically would have a lot of spending cuts. It would cut healthcare by a lot. 50 million people would lose their Medicaid. It would cut green energy. It would not help people do student loans. They're already cutting like programs for like poor people of color, Job Corps, all this stuff. The Congressional Budget Office says this bill again would add $2.4 trillion to the deficit. And all of these cuts, all of this deficit, and again, right now, adding $2.4 trillion would be a lot, but that's before you consider the interest rates, which are really, really high right now. So all of this is just to be in service of the huge tax cut for rich people, which would, again, add a lot to the U.S. debt. So basically, this is how the feud started. So after ripping the bill on June 3rd, in a June 3rd tweet, Musk followed at 2:07 a.m. on June 4th, commenting that the bill, quote, defeats all the cost savings achieved by the Doge thing that he started. By 9 a.m. on Thursday morning, Musk was ready to wage war. He retweeted a post from the fake news parody account Babylon Bee that quipped, quote, Congress warns failure to pass spending bill might delay destruction of the country, which I feel like is pretty progressive for Babylon Bee because they're basically like they're like the Republican Onion. So he retweets.
They're torn. They don't know which person to go with.
I know. Well, Elon funds them, so they need a whatever. So then at 10:41, Elon retweets his Fox interview discussing fears that the government will, quote, go bankrupt from overspending. He captioned the post, this is what it comes down to. At 10:52 a.m., Musk retweeted a post by angel investor and entrepreneur Jason Calacanis claiming, quote, the majority of Republican voters strongly agree with Elon and want the BBD trimmed down. So the big, beautiful bill. I know. And then Musk left the Democratic, and then the tweet also said, Musk left the Democratic Party and sacrificed much in his relentless support of the GOP, and the GOP should like listen to him. And then Musk captioned the post with yes and reshared it. Then at 11:20, Musk appeared to be hoping to get Trump's attention. What he would do was he would find old tweets of Trump's and retweet it with new commentary. So he shared a 2013 post in which Trump said, quote, he was embarrassed by Republicans under former President Obama's tenure because they were, quote, extending the debt ceiling. Musk quipped on X, quote, wise words. So he reposted Trump's thing about like Obama's adding to the deficit. And then it's like,
he's like almost doing how like Joe Biden's campaign would do, where they'd be like, try and prove that Trump's a hypocrite as if anyone cares.
Yeah. Then 11:46, Musk followed with another old Trump tweet in which he declared no member of Congress should be eligible for re-election if our country's budget is not balanced. Deficits not allowed. And then Musk like quote tweeted it and said, quote, I couldn't agree more. American flag, American flag. Then at 12:10 p.m., Musk tweeted, quote, slim beautiful bill for the win. Instead of big beautiful bill, he wants it slim. Then at 12:13, Musk then continued taking shots at Trump, even tagging the president's account, urging him to, quote, keep the good and remove the bad in his mega bill. Then around that time, around 12, Trump was in a press conference with German counselor Friedrich Merz, and they asked him in front, like basically at the press conference, like, what do you think? And then this is what
we used to be friends.
This is what he said. Trump said, Elon is upset because we took the electric vehicle mandate, which was a lot of money for electric vehicles, Trump told reporters, and they're having a hard time with the electric vehicles, and they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidies. Elon knew this from the beginning. So basically, Trump's like, Elon's just mad because we're not giving these subsidies anymore to electric vehicles. But even Trump knows that's not true, because Trump, even like months ago, was saying like, look, we're cutting the bill and Elon still wants to work here. Isn't he so noble? Isn't he so whatever? But now that he's getting heat, he's like, no, it's...
This is funny because it's also like all the oligarchs that jumped in bed with Trump for a specific reason aren't getting what they thought, because he doesn't care about honoring his handshake deals, or even his legally signed deals. So it's like Zuckerberg, Zuckerberg was standing behind him and poured so much money, and Bezos and all of them poured so much money into this election. And Zuckerberg did it to try and avoid the FTC, to try and avoid being subpoenaed. And then he was subpoenaed anyways.
Yeah, but he did get like a huge reduction. Like he
got more of what he wanted, because that's kind of the deal.
He was supposed to pay like $1 billion fine or something. And he only paid like 40 million. So then after Trump says that, this is what Elon says. Marcia, you want to read it?
Whatever.
This is from Elon Musk. That's
how the tweet starts. That's not me saying that. Whatever. Keep the EV/solar incentive cuts in the bill, even though no oil and gas subsidies are touched. Very unfair. But ditch the mountain of disgusting pork in the bill. In the entire history of civilization, there has never been legislation that both big and beautiful. Doesn't make sense. Sick. Everyone knows this. Either way, you get a big and ugly bill or a slim and beautiful bill. Slim and beautiful is the way.
Okay, and then the next slide.
Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House, and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude. You know what this feels like emotionally? It feels like when you had like a friend or maybe even a partner who cheated on you, or you guys had a falling out, and you're like kind of trying to tell people like, listen, you be friends with them if you want, but I know that this person is like really bad. And then everyone's like, well, I'm going to judge for myself. And then you just start to see one by one them falling out with everybody. That's how it feels emotionally, where you're just like, okay.
That's how everyone else feels. That's not how Elon Musk feels.
No, that's what I mean.
Let's keep going. So that's all before 12:30. At 12:44, Elon Musk doubled down on sharing Trump's old tweets. There was a bunch of old tweets from Trump. And then Elon Musk retweeted it and said, where's this guy today? At 1:38, Musk added on X, remember this, at Donald Trump, sharing the video of Trump shilling for Tesla outside. Trump announced that he's going to be selling that car that he shilled for. Remember when
they're on the White House lawn with the Tesla,
and he's like, wow, everything's computer.
Wow, everything's computer.
At 2:23, Musk claimed in a tweet, quote, not even those in Congress had to vote on the big, ugly spending bill. It just really reminded me of like doo-doo garbage. Like, it's not the big, beautiful bill. It's ugly and sad. It's like, okay.
They know that branding is everything, positive or negative.
So then read this tweet from 2:16 p.m.
Oh, and some food for thought as they ponder this question. Trump has 3.5 years left as president, but I will be around for 40 plus years. Not
if you keep taking ketamine.
I was going to say, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm like, babe, you're peeing yourself because you're on so many.
This is what's so crazy. Like, honestly, even with like the Luigi thing, I think that when people reach a certain level of wealth and power, they genuinely delude themselves into forgetting that like they are subject to their body and life as much as anybody else.
Yeah,
and then they don't think they can die, or like that some part of them has a narcissist, like some part of them has to reckon with the fact that they will die because it's just a fact. But I feel like they
don't think
I think that they're in control of it. Like, I think he thinks he's in control of exactly how long he's going to be alive. And it's like, we all wish that, babe.
Yeah.
I mean.
So this is Trump's response to all of this. So again, Elon was tweeting, and now at 2:37, Trump goes on Truth Social and truths, which is what you call it when it's a tweet. He truths this. Can you read the truth?
Yes.
That
it says, Elon was, quote, wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate and forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do. and he just went crazy. Can I say, I feel like someone else wrote this for him given the punctuation. No, because I feel like they're trying to mimic his voice because he doesn't use like punctuation like this.
But I feel like it is how he talks with like, he went crazy.
The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. I would love if that happened. I would love if SpaceX and Starlink are I mean, the problem is if they replace it with Palantir stuff, which seems to be his plan, is giving Peter Thiel a bunch of stuff. But Peter Thiel's got his own ego that could clash. I mean,
yeah.
I think he's smarter than Elon.
I can't even think about Peter Thiel.
Well, he's about to own DC, so you should think about him.
So then after Trump made those comments, then Elon tweets this.
This was the best moment of my life. I thought this was doctored when I saw it on your Instagram. I was like, if this is real, I've been waiting for this for months. Time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. And then he replied to himself, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. What's so funny is that, like, everybody, in my mind, everybody already knows this. Who knows anything about the Epstein files? Everybody knows that Trump is involved. And also, it was, like, open even in the first election that he was creeping on 15-year-old contestants
at his
in the Miss USA team. There's pictures of him sexually posing with tons of, like, teenage models and shit.
He's called his daughter hot.
It's insane.
It's just, like, of course he's like that. No one's surprised, Elon. And the thing is, like, you didn't really fucking care about it until...
No, Matt Gaetz is allowed to exist. Everybody knows about him.
Matt Gaetz got kicked out of... Matt Gaetz is not in the White House.
I know, but I feel like he's still around.
He's still around, but
Palmer Luckey is his stepbrother, the guy who's designing the AI weapons for the government, who's the inventor of Oculus.
Oh, my God. So Trump added on Truth Social, he said, quote, I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. This is one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. It's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion, and the biggest tax cut ever given. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix it. This puts our country on the path of greatness. Make America great again. And then at 4:11 p.m., Musk began responding to comments around calls for Trump to be impeached again, to a tweet urging that Trump should be, quote, impeached and J.D. Vance should replace him. Musk replied, yes. Then at 4:26, Musk said the Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of the year.
Duh.
That's kind of going
I think he's
back
trying
and
to
forth.
save face knowing that the consequences are going to be pinned on him and the Republicans already had him out. You know, I think what the biggest fear amongst Republicans right now is that Elon's going to pour the same resources he did in the last election into the midterms, and the Democrats could potentially impeach Trump again. But I mean, that would require some of the bought and paid for centrist Democrats to grow a spine, and we'll see if that happens.
Why would it, like, I'm like, they would take Elon's money. Like, I don't think AOC would ever take Elon's money, but you don't think Chuck Schumer would take Elon money?
No, I think that they would. I'm saying that in terms of the people that block actual things, like, if you look at what the Democrats decided to do after January 6th and like even sort of allowing Trump to run again, the people that blocked it, I think that potentially it is where the money goes and what the interests are. And maybe at this point, everyone sort of wants Trump out. So
I don't know if they want Trump out, but what has happened is that more people have spoke out against the bill.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of, even on its face, to say that you're cutting all these services so people like the hard right Republicans don't want to increase the deficit. They actually want, and they don't believe that it's cutting enough. Like the hard right, they don't want any Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare, or Social Security at all. They want everyone who's not white to die. They don't think it goes too far. And then the centrists are like, this is too much. So what happened now is like kind of Elon has poured gasoline on the fire and like emboldened a lot more people to say like this bill kind of sucks. So it's looking more risky than ever that it might not pass.
It's interesting too because it's like in Trump adding Elon to his personality cult and giving his followers another sort of anti-hero personality to cling to, it now fractions his cult a bit because then you're only going to have the people that are truly diehard for Trump, for him as a celebrity, for that kind of fervor, his groupies, so to speak, are kind of the only people tripling, quadrupling down. And I saw someone saying, and I think this is true, and I think people should have to take accountability, but we should also allow to an extent. There's a lot of quiet quitting from the MAGA cult. There's a lot of people kind of backing away going, oh, I don't want to be associated with this. And it's bullshit because it's like everyone, was trying to tell you these things before.
But people have to learn for themselves.
They do. And they also, it's just crazy to me, the delusions people will have. Like the idea that someone genuinely thought he would only go after the criminals is such bullshit to me. But then it's also like, I guess there are some people so susceptible to propaganda that happened. And I learned about the Cambridge Analytica thing, which I didn't fully understand. Cambridge Analytica, when it was exposed that this research group in England had helped Trump push propaganda on certain people in the 2016 election.
Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook have helped. Facebook in general is like marketing thing
contracted Cambridge Analytica to like help with this. And what was interesting to me, though, that I didn't fully understand is that it's not just they were pushing propaganda on people. They were using their algorithm to identify, based on what people click, who is going to be most susceptible to that propaganda. And then it worked. And the powers that be can now do that for any sort of interest. It can be sort of, oh, you want people to believe this? Okay, we're going to push out this specific content to these people who are emotionally or, demographically aligned with this and just see who we can get. And you really can shape conflicts that way. And so it's like, it's interesting.
And what's happening right now, as you're talking about the fracture of MAGA, and like one of the reasons that Trump was able to win is because there's all like the tech bros, Silicon Valley, like tech people and young men, a lot of like young men in America, they've been like radicalized to the right through YouTube and all that stuff. But a lot of them either think Trump is funny or they do think like, oh, there's government waste, whatever. They're these tech bros. Elon brought in these tech bro-y guys. And then what's happening is like, it didn't work out as much. Everyone's pissed and shit is getting worse. So those people are fracturing from the MAGA thing. And that's also the core of Steve Bannon's kind of conflict, is that he wants a MAGA plus. He wants like susceptible people who are marginalized, and he wants to bring them in, and to this, white supremacist, whatever, but like all that stuff. And Elon, and that represents like the Silicon Valley, Mark Zuckerberg kind of arm of MAGA. And like, so there's like, again, some hope that maybe whatever.
They have conflicting interests, because then you also have like the Christian right sort of triangle of that. And it's always interesting to me, them all working together, because, I feel that corporate capitalism, especially one that wants zero regulation, has such different interests from Christian theocracy. But at the same time, Christian theocracy is a huge business. And they want to find ways to exist in this corporate structure and stay protected amongst their religious rights, But they want to change. It's such a losing game, because they will not fundamentally change the demographics. And I think also Trump winning is bad for them, because when they could play victim, it kind of helped their fake victim mentality more. But now they're in charge, and the people they've chosen cannot lead. We go, okay, we gave you your way, and look what happened.
Well, and that's why they, arguably are fanning the flames of violence in LA. So during all of this kind of back and forth, Bloomberg reported that Tesla's public feud had sent its stock plummeting by 14%, and it's already gone down since January 2025. Donald Trump was asked about his relationship with Elon Musk. They said, do you think your relationship's over? He said, I would assume so, yeah. Somebody said if he would repair the relationship, he said no.
Trump comes back, he's like, honestly, I was speechless when
they were working on the remix. Trump said there would be serious consequences if basically Elon fucks with the big, beautiful bill.
Fucks with it just
like
by...
if it doesn't get passed because of Elon Musk, or if he funds people, or if because he can fund commercials saying, call your senators and say, don't vote for the big, beautiful bill.
Or really just get to the lobbyists who are in charge of the people making the votes, is where he has real financial power.
But so Trump said there would be, quote, very serious consequences for Elon if he
threatening his contracts, probably. Elon's put himself in an interesting position, and maybe it is because that he's totally unhinged from drugs, but he hasn't ever seemed like a long-term thinker, like even with his purchase of Twitter and then trying to pull it back. I mean,
that's not really a long-term, like how you're going to do Christmas. You know what I mean?
They don't care about that, though, because they don't see their kids as their responsibility. They just see it as like, I sire children, and that's what God wants me to do. And like,
yeah, whatever.
He has that's like, it's such a birthing cult with men. Like the tech guys where they want to just impregnate every single woman.
But I thought women were the ones that are baby crazy.
Right,
anyway,
right,
I mean, that's a lot. So I just want to wrap up this segment before we go to Grasshole and wrap up the show by saying that every week I get shit for still being on Twitter. And people give me so much shit. But this is why we're on Twitter. Because once or twice a year,
a huge event happens and you want to be there.
Elizabeth dies. A bunch of white people get beat up in Alabama. Trump gets COVID. It becomes worth it to be on Twitter live. And you don't have to go through any other roundup. Because I'll say this, in trying to get this story, it was really hard to get the screenshots of the tweets. And everyone was making so many jokes, and it was so fun and happy, and it reminded us of the Twitter of the old days. And that still happens twice a year.
Yes.
And I want to say that's why we're still on Twitter. That's why I'm on Twitter. So when I plug my Twitter at the end of every episode, you got to know this is why. Because once a year, Elon Musk will fight with Trump.
That is when
and
it's
Marcia,
worth it.
you're holding the front lines too. You're also on Twitter.
It's worth it for me to stay. First of all, I am not going to be bullied off of a platform by like far right bullshit. It's like they want me gone. Like,
yeah, of course.
They want only the opinions there to be the agreement. And it's like, okay, they made my likes go down and I lost a bunch of followers. I don't care. That's not why I was there. I was there, like you said, to participate when events like this happen in real time in a way that you can't. Yeah. We don't have the town square in person anymore as much. I might be with my friends sometimes when things happen, but not usually, and not during the pandemic. So it was like, I think I got really used to like, this is where you go. Because I also love doing it on the Tonys and on like big nights like that.
Like current events. That's what it was for.
Yeah. When I was watching Katy Perry's performance in the VMAs, I wanted to see if everyone else agreed with me,
And they did?
No, and that's where I was really disappointed, actually. But that's why it was good. It was good because that's how I gauged that I should stay quiet, because I was going to post an opinion being like, obviously everyone agrees that this, and then everyone was like, what an amazing performance. And I was like, I'll shut up.
So yeah, that's basically the thing. That's basically the fight.
I like it because I don't feel emotionally like it's like the enemy of my enemy is not my friend, but I like to watch them fight.
Not that complicated.
Not that complicated, y'all.
I do like to see the enemy of my enemy fight.
I like to see the enemy. He doesn't have to be my friend. I don't understand that. He does not have to be my friend. I want to see them fight. I love that I don't have to do anything and they just It's like a playoffs where it's like I want them to tire each other out so that by the time they face us, they're exhausted.
The same girl who donned the period draws beef are saying like sometimes like when the two women are fighting and they're showing each other's bras, whatever, their kids are being neglected. So it's like, we're the kids in this situation. We're not. But like, we kind of want to be neglected by these assholes.
They already had left the kids at home to go on the trip before they started fighting. Exactly. The kids were always being neglected.
Yeah.
It's a symptom of the type of person they already were.
Well, and I was on another podcast and somebody was like, I'm a little bit more towards Elon in the fight because Elon did a bunch of good things for electric vehicles and stuff. And so there's
certain liberals really cling to this, I think. And it's like someone can do a good thing, and be a horrible dictator in person.
Well, also, I'm like the electric vehicle thing, like we already kind of lost the war with China. And like they're making $7,000 electric vehicles that like have 500 miles per charge.
And Teslas don't work.
And Teslas like are blowing up all the time. But I will say that I was like, yeah, but to counterpoint, I mean, I didn't get to say it on the pod, so I'm saying it on my pod. Trump is a better father than Elon is, and he's funnier. So it's kind of like,
I don't know about
Trump
that.
is a better father. He has a relationship with his kids. He's seen at things with his kids more often than Elon is. He's a more active father.
It's like, yeah, Kim Jong-il was a decent father.
Yeah, I mean, but that's it. We contain multitudes. All right, Marcia, let's wrap this fucking show up. without Elise. Elise is like going to be editing this and she's like, I am never going to miss an episode again. Marcia, our Grasshole.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so excited. Marcia, have you heard of our Grasshole of the Week, which is our segment of the episode where we choose one person to log off, who needs to touch grass, who needs to get out and experience the real world. Marcia, have you ever heard of somebody by the name of Tommy Tough Knuckles?
No. I have not.
You've never heard of the
Tommy
legend
Tough Knuckles.
of Tommy Tough Knuckles?
Tell me.
Tommy Tough Knuckles, his real name being Kyle Vasquez of Quorum, Long Island. He is a content creator who has gone viral for his series of social media pranks, recordings where he allegedly would be a menace online to people in places and things and then would post it. One of his stunts that he recorded for social media was he dumped a big container of eggs on his own head in front of, brace yourself for the most Long Island statement I've ever heard in my life. He dumped a container of eggs on his own head in front of the entrance of Ralph's Italian Ices in Center Reach, Long Island. So basically, he said, hey, my name is Tommy Tough Knuckles, and this is why eggs are expensive. And he pours 50 eggs on top of him, already cracked. So they say, the owners of Ralph's Italian Ices say that Tommy Tough Knuckles then drove off, leaving the eggs and the broken shells on the entrance and the front door of the sweet shop.
Because that's what these influencer losers do. Like, when you work in food service, they are the most terroristic people. They're literally like, can you film this for me, servant? And then they spit on you and leave trash on the floor and then post a video that's like, I had the best day of my life at this restaurant. And it's like, you are the worst person I've ever encountered. They are the most narcissistic fucking freaks.
So the day after the egg incident, police allege Vasquez went to a Chinese restaurant not far from the Italian ice shop, walked inside, and poured a bucket of beans on his head, and recorded it in social media. Obviously, the owners of the Chinese restaurant didn't know what the fuck was happening. They just see this kid pouring beans on himself.
I would be scared, honestly. I would be like, what if this is just you know what I mean? It'd be scary.
Yeah. Another prank that he would do is he would go to people's houses, say, I really have to use the bathroom. Can I please use the bathroom? Then he would go in and film the inside of their house without them knowing and post them on social media without their consent. So
this is what I get so mad when I see people filmed in public in general. Or there was one video that I hate pranks, first of all, famously. I think I'm well on the record for that. I think if you've ever heard me on anything over the last 10 years, I hate pranks in part because, I mean, a creative prank maybe, but it's when the joke is somebody's reaction and you're almost playing off the anxiety and fear that we all have of some human is going to come along and fuck with me in a way that puts me in danger. And it's almost like you're playing off that emotion.
So you don't even like Nathan For You.
No, I like Nathan For You. I respect, I don't find what he does to be pranks. Nathan For You makes me uncomfortable because of my own stuff, because I'm awkward. And when I watch him he embraces his awkward and leans in. That's what makes him so special. I lean out.
Okay, but you don't like Eric Andre pranks?
I mean, you're naming artistic people.
Yeah,
I'm talking about people online that are I pranked my wife by putting a mask on in my bed and making her think that she was about to be assaulted and killed. I pranked my pregnant wife by surprising her by jumping up behind these bushes, and then her water broke and she went into I saw this one prank from teenagers, especially the teenagers I really hate, because there's always so much subtle misogyny where it's I swear to God, there was a video that had 1 million likes, and it was I think I had just restarted my TikTok or re-downloaded it, and the algorithm starts over to see what you like. This teenage looking boy, it was pushes his girlfriend, pushes her over, and she falls over into a cornfield, and it was LOL prank. That's just abuse. And it had 1 million likes and people being LOL her face and shit like that. And also, even now, even it's not a prank, but there's this whole thing of people, I saw these people, and hopefully I think some of it is staged content. But if it's not, there was this girl who's dancing alone in her apartment with the windows open, and someone's filming her being like, oh my God, I wish I could be this free, or like never change. Again, it's probably staged content, but it's like people are so comfortable filming people in public, and it's truly weird. And none of us should want this because we are 1984ing ourselves. It's like we're surveilling ourselves. Like we have everything on film from ourselves. Like,
so it's interesting because this is, again, what we talk about, like the attention economy. Like before, it used to be like everyone would do anything for money, but now anyone would do anything for attention.
That's exactly it, too, where it's like there's no actual value or commentary or anything.
And it's ratcheting up. Like they're just doing more and more crazy things to get attention, to go
it's
viral,
idiocracy
to get
content.
it's crazy. And that happens, it's like kind of a result of like TikTok kind of making virality a lottery instead of something that's more likely to happen the more you post, which is like a good and bad thing. But it's like what's happening is now these kids, these people grow up and they think that everything's for everything's for attention.
Totally.
And whatever. So let's see what happens when Tommy Tough Knuckles is arrested.
Arrested? Hell yeah.
He gets arrested. Yeah. I mean, there's like a minute and a half long video that kind of recaps everything I say. And then there's this 30-second video of him in the courtroom. But I feel like we should just watch him in the courtroom.
Kyle, you wanted attention, now you got it. But Kyle Vasquez had trouble navigating all the attention at court today. Big trouble. First, an obscene gesture.
Hey, what are you doing? What? We're not doing that.
Then he tried to barge out a side door in conflict with the officers that were here to escort him out. The 21-year-old from Coram, known as Tommy Tough Knuckles on TikTok, facing 8 separate criminal counts today for viral videos like this one.
So I just think it's so funny that he did these terrible pranks to all these businesses.
That is, and he made,
and he looks like an asshole.
He made service people clean up like the craziest mess ever.
Beans and eggs. And then
I would be so mad.
He flicked off a cop and tried to run away and then ran away. So it's just like this guy's
But at the end of the day, even if he goes to jail, he's going to keep most of his money and be a millionaire and learn nothing.
Well, we'll see because
he's going to jail on the day of my show.
Yeah, TikTok, they'll cancel an account. I mean, as we saw with the skinny influencer, like they don't want any heat, especially TikTok in America. They'll fucking demonetize an account quick for less.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's getting arrested for doing stupid pranks, like they could demonetize him, which will, whatever. So
it's so crazy because I feel like it must be people who are like, well, it could be Jesus at my door asking to go to the bathroom, because the idea of letting a man, let alone anyone, I don't think I would let any person use the bathroom.
I know, but they're in the
unless
suburbs.
They were there
He's
for
like
something.
a kid. Like I could see why someone's like, wow, this, but it's also like kind of like, I'm sure they wouldn't let a black teenager use the fucking bathroom, but God forbid a white. That's also the thing that got me was like, something's happening in America because his last name is Vasquez. I'm disturbed. I'm like, this is totally white boy bully behavior. Like he literally looks like the bullies from Billy Madison, like the O'Doyle family or whatever.
Doyle rules.
Oh, Doyle rules. He looks like one of those guys. And his name is Vasquez. I'm like, something happened here.
He could be a Spaniard.
He could be a Spaniard. Let's hope he's a Spaniard.
He's a Spaniard.
This is humiliating. Yeah, it's just like, honestly, go touch grass. Learn a fucking skill. That if you want to make content so bad, learn how to do comedy like us idiots and then fucking embarrass yourself like online like everyone else.
But some dumbass video will always get more likes from the It's Not That Deep crowd than like anything, because it's like people don't want to think. People love misery. People love chaos. Like that content does so well. Messy content does so well.
I feel like one video will do really well, but I'm like,
it gets old. That's the thing.
He has to keep doing more and more crazy things. Of course, one video of somebody, whatever, does well. How are you going to keep YouTubers, Twitch? They're all, look at even DDG. They have to post every day for hours a day. Like, you can't keep that up unless you're harming other people, because that ups the stakes. But then you're getting charged with 8 counts of whatever the fuck.
The food thing is so, because who was that person who wrote about how in the recession, it's going to be a sign of wealth for people to sort of egregiously waste food, like that it becomes a part of art during recessions and depressions, because it's a way for the wealthy to subtly assert this food doesn't matter to me as much as it does to you.
Yeah.
So he's this millionaire influencer.
I don't know if he's a millionaire.
Or he wants to be. He's dumping. He has
eggs.
Enough money to afford and waste 50 eggs without it affecting him.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
It's crazy for the crime of pouring 50 eggs on top of you in front of a Italian ice place, for the crime of pouring a bucket of beans on you in a Chinese restaurant, leaving it there, recording people's houses without consent, flicking off an officer, leaving the courtroom. That was pretty funny and pretty badass. But you still, Kyle, Tommy Tough Knuckles, go touch grass. Marcia, that was our show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Anything you want to plug? Where can we find you? How can we see you? Where do we follow you on the internet?
June 30th, unregulated at Union Hall in Gowanus, Brooklyn. All my social media is just Marcia Belsky, except for my Instagram, which is Marcia Sky.
And if you want to follow this podcast, you can follow Go Touch Grass Pod on everywhere, on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. If you want to follow Elise, who we love and we miss so much, and she's going to really miss being here and not regulating the conversation.
And she's fine.
She's doing great. She's thriving. You can follow her at Pandalise on Instagram and at Least Navidad on TikTok and everywhere else. You can follow me at Millie_Tamaris on Instagram and TikTok, and at Millie Tamaris on Twitter. That's our show. Thank you so much. And until next time, go touch grass.
That was a HeadGum podcast.
Hey, I'm Jake Johnson, and I host the HeadGum podcast, We're Here to Help, with my partner, Gareth Reynolds. We're Here to Help is a call-in advice show. Think car talk from back in the day. We're determined to help fix life's dumbest problems. We also have guest helpers join us from the entire cast of New Girl to Michael Cera, Andy Samberg, Jimmy Kimmel, just to name a few. So do me a favor and come check out an episode and then bounce around our catalog. We're over 150 episodes so far, so there's plenty of stories for you to discover. Subscribe to We're Here to Help on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every Monday, and bonus episodes drop on Wednesdays.
Hi, I'm Jessie Klein.
And I'm Liz Feldman, and we're the hosts of a new HeadGum podcast called Here to Make Friends.
Liz and I met in the writer's room on a little hit TV show called Dead to Me, which is a show about murder.
But more importantly, it's also about two women becoming very good friends in their 40s.
Which can really happen, and it has happened to us.
It's true.
Because life has imitated art.
And then it imitated life.
Time is a flat circle.
And now
we're making a podcast that's about making friends.
And we're inviting incredible guests like Vanessa Bayer.
Wow, I have so much to say.
Lisa Kudrow.
Feelings, they're a nuisance.
Nick Kroll.
I just wanted to say hi.
And Matt Rogers.
I'm like on the verge of tears.
So good.
So good. To join us and hopefully become our friends in real life.
Yeah, take it out of the podcast studio and into real life. Along the way, we are also going to talk about dating.
Yep.
Spousing.
True.
Parenting. careering.
Yeah.
And why we love Thelma and Louise, and it's the greatest movie of all time.
Shouldn't need to be said.
No,
but
we said it.
It's just a true thing. So please subscribe to Here to Make Friends on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and watch video episodes on YouTube. New episodes every Friday.